Nothing so loud.
Hey there, gang. It's Saturday night. It's the 20th of January already, 2024. And welcome to the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Look at that national debt, $34.052 trillion and climbing. Thank you, YouTube. I've been informed I've got a copyright infringement going on here. Not a strike, though. Thank you very much for letting us know, YouTube. I really do appreciate you guys staying on top of all that. Thank you. Yeah, well, and normally they don't catch it during the live stream. It's after it's over is where I get the little notification. I want to welcome everyone for joining us tonight. Actually, we've got a lot of folks with us joining us for the live stream, both in Gilded and by cell phone. So we're going to talk about several things tonight. I want to say hello to CL Moody from St. Louis, who's checking in on Rumble. And we have Almira checking in on YouTube, as well as Gary Ride and Sam I Am. So welcome to all of you tonight, gang. Thank you for caring enough about the state of Missouri to check in and see what's going on here and what we can do to make it a better state, to make it a little more liberty-minded. And it's not an easy job, is it? Okay, one more look here at the debt clock. $34.052 trillion, gang. Gosh darn it. Trillions. Just trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. Can never be paid back. And Misty Atkinson is checking in. Hello there, Misty. It's not a strike, Almira. It's a copyright infringement. It actually doesn't affect us because we're not monetized. If we were monetized, what they would do is take any money received from this video and apply it to the people who have rights to the music. But the Missouri Freedom Initiative is not monetized at all. So they can't do anything to us for that reason. Okay, so 34 trillion. Gosh darn it, it just seems like if it was a few weeks ago it was 33 trillion. My, how these kids are growing up. Okay, we're gonna get rid of the music now and start everything up so we can see everyone in Gilded. Give me a second. I'm slightly handicapped again, working with only one monitor. I did not get my problem fixed from before, so I just do a quick change here on the window capture and change that over to Gilded. I have to have Gilded up. Where's Gilded? There's Gilded. Okay, and then back to Prism. Sorry about the inconvenience here, guys. Okay. So we are back on Gilded now, so you guys can see we have Liberty Revolutionary with us tonight. We have Voodoo Queen. We have Rusty Shackelford, 2%er, and Rebel Cry. But also on the phone, we have we usually have Doug and Maya coming through via the phone. But tonight we also have Sam. Sam, actually, who is the host of Off the Cuff on Missouri Liberty Radio, also owner of the station Missouri Liberty Radio. So welcome to you, Sam. Thank you for joining us tonight.
You bet. Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yep. So it's kind of an interesting time. I mean, Sam, we know a lot of Sam's background of basically, Missouri Liberty Radio, I do believe is 20 years old this December. And he has on the radio, been trying to foster support for people to take a closer look at what's going on in their state and indeed their nation. And, of course, that's coming to fruition now. We have symptoms of literally people not wanting to take it anymore. And when I say not take it anymore, I'm being very specific. They're not going to placate the other side. It's not a go-along to get-along situation going on in D.C. right now. And it certainly isn't one in Missouri because of the Freedom Caucus, where a lot of people see them as disruptophobes, undesirables, deplorables. I mean, well, how many adjectives can we come up with? For the Freedom Caucus. Yeah, there we go. So but apparently there's a lot less tolerance for people who want to go back to actually small government, low taxes, and more freedom for the people. And so, of course, that's not tolerated as much as, hey, let's go along to get along. Let's go ahead and grow the Missouri state budget another $6 billion. And as opposed to cutting taxes, let's find crap to spend it on. And so that's what they're fighting up there. Literally, that's what they're fighting, the Freedom Caucus. And so I think it's very, very important for people to understand that, you may not agree with every single stance of every single person in the Freedom Caucus. They are not clones of one another. They're very different people, and there's a lot of them in there. But the fact of the matter is they're trying their very best to do the right thing. And it started last year. Some people say, well, of course it's happening this year. It's an election year. No other year will this happen. No, it started last year, trust me. They were getting into it last year pretty hot and heavy, but it wasn't getting the press. There was no Freedom Caucus yet. But you did have the individuals standing up, and actually starting to question leadership up in Jefferson City. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I think it's important that we talk a little bit about Knock and Shock as well, which is coming up in 10 days. That'd be on the 30th of January. And also, just to let you know, there will be yet another meeting up in Owensville, which my wife, Retha, will be conducting. And that will be after Knock and Shock, the same evening, January 30th, at Deb's Barn in Owensville, Missouri. So back by popular demand, and a lot of other people want to hear what Retha has to say and wants to look at her data. And so
So hopefully this is going to get bigger because we'll get more people up there, because I think Retha will tell you I might be stirring some people up. And I had one legislator look at what I wrote and said, somebody might hoff on my ass after this this series of articles. So
I've seen the way you're writing it, John. You're writing it very well. So I don't see any way that they're going to come after you. I think the best way to approach it is Retha quotes. And, basically, so it's not you. And so, of course, they'll say, well, you're not using your best judgment. You should ask her for a different quote and this and that and the other thing. But Retha's pretty good at that sort of thing. But the fact of the matter is, Retha, with the Missouri Freedom Initiative, is catching the entire public school system in the state of Missouri with their pants down. And they have no defense mechanism for this. None. They don't show up at meetings. The best way to handle it is to zip your lips. Don't talk about it. Don't acknowledge it. Certainly don't interact with anyone who mentions anything about school finance or the practice of using no tax increase bond issue literally on the ballot. Don't talk about that. Whatever you do, don't talk about that. That is actually, Texas has made that illegal. That's the only state in the union that has made it illegal to use those words on the ballot. 49 other states get to use them. So, and of course, the NEA was behind getting that done in the first place. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Jeff City, because if you're not paying attention, actually this is more drama than you would find in D.C. is actually going on in Jefferson City, our capital right now. And it's kind of fun to watch, basically from a standpoint of, and I've talked with Caleb about this too. The fact that nothing is getting done up in Jeff City right now is actually a good thing.
Yeah, it's actually beautiful.
Yep. From a liberty point of view, we're not getting garbage going through. Now, yes, it is going through the legislative process, but everything's getting stopped. At a certain point, because nothing good is getting through. The grassroots bills are not getting through. Helping the people, truly helping the people, equal application of the law is not getting through. Gold and silver is not getting through. IP reform, which was supposedly the top priority of the GOP, is not getting through. So right now we kind of have a, I don't want to say handicapped government. We have literally a paralyzed government. And if they're not going to actually start taking on grassroots bills, then they should be paralyzed, in my opinion. They really do need to start taking on IP reform, gold and silver, defend the guard, other things that literally are good for the state of Missouri and things that people want. Did you want to say something, Caleb?
Oh, no, I was just moving my mic around. If it's not picking up weird or something. So
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so in lieu of this, while people say, well, gosh darn it, now we have a circus in Jefferson City. Well, technically, it's not the same type of circus. It's a very low-level circus. It's a it costs very little money to put on a circus in a state compared to the federal government. And the one thing that I want to point out again, if those of you get the newsletter, saw that I had once again linked Ron's infamous letter, open letter to everyone in the House about why concurrent majority IP reform is never going to be allowed through, or how it could be allowed through. The reason it can't be allowed through is because too many people were paid off not to let it through. I mean, that's just, and it was the Missouri Realtors Association. They're the ones who made the PAC payments. And in fact, I linked up the Rogue Politics episode where they actually detailed this in detail. How much money did each person get? So Ron caught them with their pants down. And the best idea is just not to talk about it, I guess, up in the Capitol. They're not going to attack Ron and say, Ron, you're a liar. You're wrong. This didn't happen. We haven't heard that. What they do is they just ignored Ron. They ignored his letter. They pretended it never happened. And yet again, we begin the same year with them not doing anything with IP, and that stands for Initiative Petition Reform. Nothing is happening. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's actually a bad thing this time around. This has been going on for 17 years, by the way. I'm about to give you a little tiny bit of history on this IP reform stuff. For 17 years in the state of Missouri, we knew we had an IP initiative process that could easily allow for out-of-state players with deep pockets to come in and actually change the Missouri Constitution. That's been there for a while. That is nothing new. However, for 17 years, the true conservatives have tried to change it. It has been blocked and blocked and blocked year after year after year after year, 17 years in a row. Mm-hmm. And Ron was able to determine that it ended up being the Missouri Realtors Association. At least this time it was. Who knows who it was in the past? Maybe we'll never know. But the fact is, it's been reported on. It's been exposed. Everybody knows. This isn't a secret anymore, or you might want to call it an open secret. But the fact of the matter is, we have some pretty draconian initiative petitions coming our way for November of this year. We have, at current count, 17 initiative petitions to make abortion legal in the state of Missouri, and some of them literally go up to 9 months. Not all of them, but some of them. In fact, the one that's getting the most attention right now is the one that gives you, I believe it's 3 months to have an abortion. And then, of course, makes a provision for rape and incest as well, which is a tiny fraction of abortions, by the way. Very, very, it's less than 1%. So we have that. But we also have them coming after guns in the state of Missouri in the form of basically cities and counties being able to make up their own rules on firearms in the state of Missouri. That is also one that's being circulated right now. They're coming after SEPA. And once again, let me back up a second here. These are Bloomberg and Soros types paying for these things. This is coming from outside of the state. This is not organic. And they know they can get it done with the existing petition process. They can actually get it done. The changes that are being proposed with what we refer to as concurrent majority for House districts is 51% of House districts. How many House districts do we have? I think it's 160 or something like that. We have like 160 people in the House. So it's something like that.
Patrick?
Yes.
Patrick, I just want to point out one thing you said.
Sure.
You talked about how this is George Soros funded and all that stuff. And let's think about who our General Assembly is. They're supposedly all Republicans.
Yes, I understand that.
Now we got George Soros funding Republicans doing this stuff. And that's why I sit there and go, they're not Republicans up there anymore.
Well, there are some Republicans. There are true conservatives up there, but they're in the minority, unfortunately. So that's true. You're absolutely right. And the fact is that George Soros and Bloomberg that's funding these things, you have the very same Republicans that 2%er was just talking about. This is John Grady, by the way, was just talking about, literally not doing anything to get IP into committee in the Senate or in the House. That's correct. So what John told you is absolutely correct. Plucker might as well be working for Soros or Bloomberg. Same thing with Caleb Rowden. They might as well be working for Bloomberg or Soros. And if they're getting money from Bloomberg and Soros, that wouldn't actually surprise me, particularly on the Caleb Rowden side. Dean Plucker is much more, just standard corporations. And by the way, it's important to point out, too, that's all these guys get donations from for their campaigns is corporations. Large universities, medical, public unions, banks. That's who they get money from to run. They are not getting, $15, $20 donations from the people. That's not the kind of politicians they are. Now, I'm not doing a show tonight to sit here and rag on some of these guys, but what we will talk about is the Freedom Caucus and why we need to support the Freedom Caucus. Even if you don't agree with 100% of their positions, you certainly have to see what they're actually attempting to do right now, which is expose the squishies, the corporatists, and the RINOs, basically for lying to everyone yet again. For the 17th year in a row, IP reform is our top priority. Well, they're not letting it on the floor. Yep, but they keep saying it's their top priority. They'll keep telling you that over and over. But do we see it happen? Do we see it move into a committee? Do we see it move from committee to the floor? We're not seeing any of that. Yes, it's early in the legislative year. And yes, I do want to point out something that the Senate floor leader said. Cindy, her last name, O'Loughlin. Cindy O'Loughlin just said, and it was the week, she said, don't worry about that. We'll pass it on the last day of session. Now, here's why that's a terrible statement to make and why the Freedom Caucus saw right through it. You throw it up on the last day of session, the Democrats filibuster for the last day. Boom, you're done. It didn't get passed. Nothing got through. You have, with what is the highest priority stuff, you have to start early on. You have to. Because the Democrats don't want IP reform. They like the system the way it is because they're going to get abortion, they're going to get rid of guns, probably get a whole bunch of other things they want through the ballot initiative process. And once again, it's very, very easy to change the Missouri Constitution. Although I personally believe the anti-gun one could never get through. That's what I personally believe. Guys, I don't want you to take that to the bank. But I do think the abortion one will get through. That's something that's a very, very serious concern, to the pro-lifers. There's been a long-fought battle for many, many decades in the state of Missouri to actually curtail abortion in the state of Missouri. And we finally won that battle, basically with Roe v. Wade being overturned in the trigger law we had in the state of Missouri. But do the Democrats go up to Jefferson City to state their case and why they think that's a bad idea? Why they think we should go back to abortion in Missouri? No. They use Bloomberg, Soros, and the ballot initiative process to get their stuff done. That's what they do. So, and it's very easy to do. And once again, all it takes is about $1 million or $2 million or maybe $3 million. And you can get enough signatures to get something on the ballot. And then not to mention the confusing wording that's used. Like, for instance, Amendment 3 should never have gone through. That was a and John could probably correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was a 38-page document that came out, basically that was backing what was literally one paragraph on the ballot. Is that not correct, John?
It was 39, but who's counting it?
Okay,
point,
gotcha.
right?
39. Okay, thank you.
It really matter?
Okay, so how do you condense 39 pages of regulations and, I hate to say it, corporatism? I mean, that was a sweetheart deal for businesses, and the government gets to work with the businesses through a lottery system on who gets to grow and who gets to sell marijuana in the state of Missouri. That wasn't on the ballot.
No, the government gets to tell who gets to do those things. The government gets to pick and choose.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not exactly capitalism anymore. It's this weird Soviet-style government that we now have in Missouri.
I agree.
And that's not a sweetheart deal for businesses. That's a sweetheart deal for corporations.
Well, yeah, more specifically corporations and more specifically
the little
than that,
guy,
out-of-state corporations, right?
Yeah.
So
little guy isn't surviving in that.
Nope. He does. There's no room for the little grower or the little guy that wants to start his own dispensary or whatever. There's no room for the little man in what happened in Amendment 3. And in fact,
don't even try and grow legal hemp.
Yep.
That'll get you there too.
Yep, they're going after hemp now, guys. In 2023, we'll be talking about that in depth in probably next week's episode. Or actually probably be 2 weeks from now, because we're going to concentrate on silver and gold for knock and shock. But there's a lot of stuff that we need to shut down. But if things continue the way they're going in the Freedom Caucus right now, we may not have much legislation go through this year in the end. These guys are holding a hard line. I mean, Bill Eigel, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Bill Eigel was actually quoted by Scott Faughn, and it'll be on This Week in Missouri Politics tomorrow morning. Scott, he told Scott in an interview that the only way to fix this is Caleb Rowden and Dean Blocker have to go. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He said Caleb Rowden and Cindy O'Loughlin have to go. They have to step down. We have to have new elections in the Senate.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty strong position to take. And so at any rate, of course, Caleb Rowden sees this on Twitter. Guys, seriously, it's like watching a soap opera if you're on Twitter. Caleb Rowden comes in and retweets that and says, let's go, big boy. He was saying that to Bill Eigel. So he's challenging Bill now. He's, let's see if you can get rid of me. And so it's strikingly similar to what happened in DC, when they were trying to get rid of what was his name? I can't remember anymore. So many House speakers. Yeah, McCarthy. Thank you. Yep. So, but that's literally what's happening in Jefferson City right now. What I would like to say is that the Freedom Caucus is actually fighting for conservative ideals. And they list everything that they're for, actually, on Twitter, on Facebook. It's out there. Everybody knows what they stand for. And it's standard, I would say conservative value stuff. I mean, just regular meat and potatoes conservative issues. That's what they're into, including pro-life, of course, basically making sure that we maintain our gun rights in the state of Missouri, no matter what. They're into, making sure IP initiative gets done. In fact, that's supposed to be a top priority. Caleb Rowden said it was a top priority in an interview he did in the summer with Scott Faughn. Apparently, it's not a big priority for him now, but he was able to get political points by saying that back in June or July when he was visiting with Scott Faughn. So these guys are fibbing, and they're never held to account. That's the problem. Well, that's what the Freedom Caucus is attempting to do, is actually hold these guys to account. Make sure that they understand everyone knows they are the problem. That's why we cannot move forward in certain things that are trying to get done in the state of Missouri. Now, I know people who think the initiative process is just fine the way it is. I disagree. I think that the initiative process needs to stay the same for getting the ballot signatures to get something on the ballot. That can stay where it's at right now. But as far as voting something through, the current process is 50% plus one vote. And we changed the Missouri Constitution. And that
Can't be having the cities running everything.
That's correct. Then you have large population centers running everything for the entire state. So this is why we have the electoral college process for presidential elections. Go ahead.
Particularly large population centers that don't know anything outside of a concrete jungle.
Yep, that's right. So, once again, what's good for the city may not be good for, the rest of the state that is mainly rural. And, not only that, but the fact of the matter is they're coming after SEPA. Those of us who were, involved during SEPA, how hard we worked, how many hours we put in, there's no money in this, gang. No one made any money on SEPA, with the exception of Aaron Dorr, but he is a registered lobbyist. But we didn't work with him. We worked with Ron Calzone and his group. But the fact of the matter is, all the Democrats have to do is have someone like Bloomberg or Soros come in with deep pockets and say, let's get rid of guns in the state of Missouri. Let's go ahead and do that. What are the ideas we can, to actually totally destroy SEPA and put it in the Constitution, where SEPA is not. And SEPA is not in the Constitution, gang. So very important distinction. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things that that this all goes back to is basically two things need to happen, and good luck trying to get it done, but it needs to happen. Number one, outside influence like that from people like Soros and Bloomberg needs to stop, absolutely needs to stop. But then also, too, this is why an issue that we discussed on my show quite a ways back, we were talking about the vetting of Republicans. In other words, you can't just declare yourself a Republican and just be part of the Republican Party.
Right.
So this is one thing. This is why this is so vitally important, because this is why we're having trouble now with Flocker and so many others up there that they're one thing, but they actually do the other. And this is all over the place, not just here in Missouri.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's where we find ourselves, guys. We literally have found ourselves at that, the threshold right now, literally the gate to whether or not we're going to go right or left. Are we going towards totalitarianism, or are we going to go towards freedom? And I'm not talking about on the federal level, guys. I'm talking about the state level right here in Missouri. We have so many RINOs here. I mean, they come like, you go to Jefferson City and see them coming out of a committee meeting, and these RINOs are like clowns coming out of a Volkswagen. We have quite a few of them here, and squishies, corporatists mixed in with them. And the true conservatives, we're a red state. We're a deeply red state. I do believe, I've been told this anyway, that by the makeup of our General Assembly per capita, we have the reddest state of the entire 50 United States. We have more Republicans per capita than any other, and I'm talking about in our General Assembly, than any other state of the Union, with one possibility, and that's Idaho, by the way, believe it or not. And if that's true, this is a really sorry state we're in Missouri. Really, really, truly, truly sorry, because we're not getting a whole lot of red things done. And once again, people say, well, gosh darn it, you're quoting Bill Eigel on this stuff. Well, actually, and I don't mean to quote him on this, but he's right. We got problems here, gang. Very serious problems. And
I mean, we've been saying this for a while.
Yes, we have. We've been actually during SEPAs when we noticed the problem, but how many of us were that deeply involved in the Missouri government and the workings and the folks that are elected that are serving up there before SEPA? And the answer is very few of us, I think. So we need to support these guys in the Freedom Caucus. But equally, we need to do something else, and that is basically understand the plight of literally, we are now, remember how we kept saying we have to change this state, basically to be more free, basically sovereign, be less reliant on the federal government? Well, it's funny because that's interesting, because the state of Missouri is officially starting that right now with the Freedom Caucus. We didn't have an official start to anything like that until the Freedom Caucus showed up and started doing what they're doing right now. Now in the Senate, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's something else too there that's important to think about, and it's that people that want absolute control, when they start losing it, particularly if they're that sociopathic mindset, like a lot of the those that go for the corporate money over their own constituents,
yep,
they're going to start grabbing at power. It's just a fact. They will grab at power, and they'll look for any bit of whatever shred they can grab onto, including destroying everything in the process.
Yep. Sam I Am on YouTube says, went to Eigel meet and greet in Nixa, and I feel bad about that because I made a commitment to go to that, but didn't end up going, and I feel very bad about that. It's so close. I mean, because if I go to an Eigel event that's in Kansas City, that's 3 hours. Nixa is 10 minutes. But I couldn't make it. But he said, last night, he was stating the exact thing you were mentioning right now, Patrick. And that doesn't surprise me because we articulate these things differently. If you guys read my newsletter, I keep talking about us turning into Illinois. And so as opposed to us just going the way of totalitarianism or, things of that nature, expanding on the idea of communism. Because when I say we're heading towards communism, what I truly mean, and this is the pat, to English dictionary, is we're going towards feudalism. But like I said, gang, when I public speak, I really try very hard to stay away from all the isms because they can be very confusing. And a lot of people don't know socialism, capitalism, communism, feudalism, socialism. They don't know all the isms. And then to explain all of them, in 5 or 10 minutes, you can go on with your speech, people get confused. So it's just easier to say communism. And feudalism is a form of communism, by the way. It's definitely Marxist-based and has a lot of communism mixed into it as well. And so what Bill Eigel is talking about is the same thing the Missouri Freedom Initiative is talking about. Isn't that funny? The Missouri Freedom Caucus, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, the Missouri Freedom Foundation, that's Jody Grace's outfit. There's a lot of people here starting to understand with granularity how bad things are getting here in Missouri and are starting to fight back with organizations and getting people involved, such as Bill Eigel, such as Ron Calzone. Ron Calzone's been doing this longer than any of us, actually. He's been doing it for almost 30 years. Our group, the etymology of our group is 2019, by the way. And, and then Jody Grace's group, she came in 2021. So, and there's more. Jennifer Barker is another wonderful, wonderful example of fighting back. And then I can't say enough nice about Lisa Panett. Happens to run with Jody Grace with the Missouri Freedom Foundation. But once again, she has an enormous capacity to go through a big, complicated bill very quickly and find out whether or not it's good or bad for Missouri within a minute or two with her speed reading superpowers. And I'll never forget when Lisa did that right in front of me. Handed her a bill, and she went through a 11, 12-page bill in 2 minutes. And, and she outlined a couple of parts of it, and she goes, yep, we gotta get rid of this. We have a lot of great people in the state of Missouri that are fighting for freedom. It's not just those in the Freedom Caucus, but guys, we need to support these guys in the Freedom Caucus. We have a lot of them, and we need to let them know that we appreciate what they're doing. We have their back, and we will continue fighting along with them. They are not alone. And believe me, there are probably times where Senator Moon is standing up on the Senate floor and he feels incredibly alone, or Senator Eigel. Or Senator Koenig. They feel so alone, and they feel like they're the only one, and they're taking all the arrows. But this is a fight for the state of Missouri. You're seeing it begin right now. You might say that this is the final war, but we're just beginning the first battle for the state of Missouri. And part of the problem, and I'm going to get off my soapbox here in a second, gang, part of the problem is the lack of vetting of Republican candidates. Because they've been so eager to get along for so long, we are getting a lot of folks in that are actually Democrats running as Republicans because they absolutely cannot win as Democrats. So they come in. They, Lincoln Huff is a great example, guys. I mean, if you want a poster child of a RINO in the Missouri Senate, it's Senator Huff. I mean, he votes, more with the Democrats, I think, than he does with the conservatives. But that's what we're up against, gang. Is this type, and not to mention the corporatists. These are the plockers out there. They're only listening to their paymasters. They're not listening to the people, and they're certainly not responsive to the people. And yeah, that may sound like I'm making broad, sweeping, allegory, basically kind of indictments of certain individuals within the Missouri government. This is very well known. What I'm telling you is common knowledge. And by the way, that's the funny thing is these guys know it too. Senator Huff knows that people think of him as a RINO. Does he change his voting habits to prove to people he's not? Absolutely not. No, sir. No, he won't change his voting habits. And then you got the smart ones. By the way, Caleb Rowden is not one of them because actually his voting record is so bad. If he were vetted where he is up in Columbia, so if the Columbia or whatever they would call it, the Republican Central Committee up there, were to vet him, he would not qualify to run as a Republican, by the way, and neither would Lincoln Huff. I'm not joking. If there were a vetting process, those two Republicans would have to run as independents or Democrats in order to win office. And that's a fact. That is an absolute fact. That is not even conjecture. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that everyone in the Freedom Caucus knows how much the Missouri Freedom Initiative appreciates them. So anytime you have a chance to call or talk to them, and we're going to get into some phone calls that we need to be making here real soon, but give them a shout out. Let them know you appreciate them. Let them know you know what they're doing up there. Oh, it's an election year, Pat. That's why there's so much drama in Jefferson City. Holy mackerel. This started last year. Last year was not an election year, and there's drama up there every year, gang. If you, like I said, if people are watching Washington, D.C. because of the drama and the intrigue, literally, D.C. has nothing on what's going on in their own state government. They just don't know because it's not reported on. And now now that the Freedom Caucus is here, we're actually starting to get reports on what's going on up there. So we're actually starting to see the drama in the press. And that's because of the Freedom Caucus. And of course, the whole point is to make sure that you know how crazy everyone is who's in the Freedom process or in the Freedom Caucus. That's the point of the media reporting on them. Otherwise, they wouldn't. So, but the fact of the matter is, none of them are crazy. They all are literally looking at the big picture and seeing how little time we have left and how quickly this country is falling right now. And they're trying to shore up the state of Missouri sovereignty. That's what they're doing. And gosh darn it, isn't that part of our mission? Absolutely it is. So I think that I think the Missouri Freedom Initiative, basically is a nice complement to the Freedom Caucus. One on the inside and one on the outside, fighting for the same cause, for the same reasons, and for the same outcomes. So I think that's really special that's going on in our state right now. And and once again, nothing's getting passed. No legislation's getting through. And some people may say that's a bad thing, but more experienced liberty lovers know that that's not a bad thing at all.
Look at what I dropped in there in the in the little side chat there.
Okay, gotcha. Hang on, heading over to Gilded. Okay.
This is a reply to Rowden's post, the Bring It On post.
Okay. Yep, there we go. Is that the that's there?
That's the voting records.
Yep, gotcha. So actually, the voting record of Caleb Rowden, who is a Republican and Senate pro tem running the Senate, and of course John Rizzo, who is the minority leader in the Senate, a Democrat, have the same exact conservative voting record of 24 by the CPAC standard. Yep, thank you for putting that up. So at any rate, yeah, that's an important thing to understand. Basically the Senate pro tem Republican, supposed to be a leader of the Republican Party, basically, he doesn't have a very conservative voting record at all. And
he votes like Rizzo.
Yep,
votes guy who cried when he couldn't get the the Blue Line Act that would have stripped SEPA.
Yep.
Remember? I still got that video on my channel, Rizzo in the cry closet.
Yeah, that's right. Isn't that Rizzo when he was saying, any death that happens from this point forward is on the Republicans' hands?
Yes. Yes. Meanwhile, that Republican supposedly votes the same way he does.
Well, I remember Rowden trying to slow down SEPA. Remember he had the drama that happened? He had a death threat. Oh, welcome to the club, Caleb Rowden. I get him all the time. But so he gets all upset because he got a death threat during SEPA. So, we can't take SEPA. I know we only have 3 days left, in the Senate, but I need to go home. I need to be with my wife and kids right now because I got a death threat. Remember that on Twitter? It's something like that anyway. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what it was. And it was like, holy crap, we only have like 3 days left to get SEPA done, and he's ducking out to his house because he's all scared from some anonymous email death threat that never got published publicly, by the way. I don't know that it was even investigated.
Did it ever actually even exist?
We don't know. I mean, all we have is Caleb's word on that. And he keeps telling everyone he's a conservative. That's one thing I love about Caleb Rowden. You can count on it. You can absolutely count on it. Any single time he gets in front of a camera, he tells you how frickin' conservative he is. Every time. He puts himself up as literally the poster child for conservatism. I'm a conservative. I don't make any excuses for being conservative. Well, it's funny too. He's not making a whole lot of excuses for his voting pattern either. In fact, he just ignores any questions having to do with his votes. Okay, I'm sorry. I meant wasn't really meant to be an individual bashing fest, but Caleb Rowden, you sure do deserve it.
It's still just,
Yep.
yeah, he deserves it.
So at any rate, that's what I wanted to talk about as far as, basically the Freedom Caucus goes. I've had some folks, that are on the email list that are not as tied in as maybe perhaps others are with the Capitol, curious what's going on. I mean, why is this happening? I mean, what's stopping what, this, that, and the other thing. And, of course, they're seeing some mainstream stuff talking about the Freedom Caucus, apparently on the main networks in Missouri. And we're talking about NBC, CBS, ABC, whatever on the news. And, of course, they're trying to make them look like they're crazy. But that's exactly what they do in D.C. as well. They're tinfoil hat wearers. They're crazy people. They believe in aliens and UFOs. So, that's what they've done in D.C. They're not doing that here in Missouri. But it's just a matter of time before they pull those kinds of punches. And when they do, Scott Vaughn is going to be in the thick of it, guaranteed. And I can't wait. And I normally don't watch This Week in Missouri Politics. I'm not a big Scott Vaughn fan. Not a big fan, honestly. But I can't wait to see.
Not a fan.
Yep.
I had to do it. Not a fan.
Not a fan. Yep, that's a Trump thing. But at the same time, I'll bet you my bottom dollar, Bill Eigel had a blast at that interview because Scott Vaughn doesn't ask hard questions of squishies and of RINOs or of Democrats, but he does of the conservatives. He goes after them pretty hard in interviews, actually, and asks the hard questions. Really complex, difficult questions. Thinks he's got you, he's got the gotcha thing going on. He ain't got nothing. Scott Vaughn, sorry, man. I shouldn't have said that. You are climbing up in the YouTube ranks. He's got over 900 subscribers now on YouTube. So he is getting up there. And so at any rate, I congratulate you, Scott. And I remember now about 450 of them are Missouri Freedom Initiative folks because we consider that a source of intel. So just kind of cut that in half, Scott Vaughn, and think of it as 450 and, just kind of work your way up from there. But we're the only ones who comment on your channel, Scott Vaughn, by the way. Okay. I don't want to belabor that.
Okay.
Let's go. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when you go to Jeff City next, you should just start handing out sponges to all the squishies.
Yep. That's right.
You know what? That's actually not a bad idea.
Yep. Here's a sponge. Yep. So, all right, let's move on here, gang, so we can get general conversation going. And in fact, I've already talked a lot, but I do want to talk about gold and silver tonight and where we are at right now in both the House and the Senate. So those of you who got the email know that basically HB 1955 has not moved an inch, not 1 inch. It has not been assigned to committee. I explained in last week's email what was going on basically with Doug. And he is blackballed right now because he stood up to Plocker and literally requested that he consider very strongly stepping down from speakership. And that was during his third scandal. That was even before his fourth scandal. And Plocker, of course, who still has the speakership and still has his seat, and the ethics committee hasn't done anything with him, has decided to blackball Doug. And Doug, none of his legislation is going anywhere, and his committee has not been given any legislation, none. And it's the biggest committee they have in the House, by the way, too, Special Government Accountability or something like Special Committee on Government Accountability, I believe is what it's called. So
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so now we know that it will not, Bill Hardwick's 1955 will not be going into the same committee it was in last year. But the fact is, Plocker's still not assigning it a committee. If you guys have looked, I think we're at about 25 co-sponsors now, more co-sponsors than any other bill in the House, and it's not moving. Lots of phone calls and emails going in, but not moving. We have to start going after Plocker. But don't worry, the cavalry is coming in. Let me explain. In this week's newsletter, I let you guys know that I did a video with Ron's Basement and also with Dunnigan Kaiser with Finance and Liberty. Ron's Basement has some 31,000 subscribers, and Finance and Liberty has over 100,000 subscribers, and they've both been asked to ask their viewers to call up Dean Plocker and get that HB 1955 put into committee. So the cavalry's coming in, gang, but we can start that anytime now. In fact, we should probably start it tonight. I think we should let Dean Plocker know. And once again, and this is the other thing that I would ask the people that are part of the initiative. If you're calling Dean Plocker's office to request that get moved into committee, have it go into government downsizing. I mean, that was on last week's email. And then also call up your rep and let them know that you have called and emailed Dean Plocker's office, even if it's at night and you leave a voicemail. And it doesn't matter anyway. I mean, whether it's, something where you talk to someone during the day, because they're not going to talk to you a lot about this bill. They're just going to say, all right, I'll put your name on the list. That's what they say. They just want to get you off the phone because lots of phone calls are coming in about gold and silver. But accountability is the problem here. This is why the Missouri Freedom Caucus is doing what it's doing right now. It's actually setting up a system of accountability. And it's not the standard system of accountability. It's not an international standard of operation. What it is a systematic exposure of the RINOs, of the squishies in Jefferson City and their sheer numbers. And that's exactly what we have to do with Plocker, because last year thousands of phone calls went to Plocker's office. And I talked to everyone up in Jeff City, and they're saying, oh, I never heard that. Diane never told us that. Plocker never told us that. That's right. There was no accountability. They didn't care that their phone lines were being lit up. They didn't care. So that's why we have to call our reps after we call and email Plocker. Let our reps know that we called and emailed Plocker specifically for HB 1955 to be moved into government downsizing. And once again, refer to last week's email. And in fact, I should have that up in front of me right now so I could tell you the right. I opened up my Missouri House tab, and of course, there's Dean Plocker's face on there. Gosh darn it. I'll be okay, gang. I'll be okay.
Be careful, you might lose another monitor.
I know. That's what I'm worried about too. Okay, that's a really, really good point. Let me find the committee here. Okay, government efficiency and downsizing is specifically what it's called. That's what we need to ask Plocker to do. Put it into that, literally into government efficiency and downsizing, HB 1955. The Constitutional Money Act goes there. We have friends there. We have people that have already co-sponsored the bill in there. And Representative Jim Murphy is running it, and he's someone I think we can work with. So let's get this done. Let's actually get this off the ground. And unfortunately, it shouldn't be this hard to pass really, really meaningful constitutional legislation that doesn't really change anything as far as the government's concerned. All it does is give people another option. But that's the kind of people we're dealing with Plocker. And we know that Eigel can get this through the Senate. He did it last year. He did it masterfully. In fact, very few bills get passed the way that one got passed. The way it got passed, the demeanor, if you will, of what was happening on the floor at the time. I mean, Bill was joking the whole time. Basically, there's always a silver lining. Hey, let me tell you about the golden rule. He always had a quip, for any question, which made it fun. But the fact is, it went through like a speeding bullet through the Senate. That's how fast Eigel got that through. And so at any rate, we're not worried about the Senate side right now. We're worried about the House side. Can we even get this past Plocker? That's what HB 1955 is all about. And that's what I'm asking for everyone to do, is renew your efforts to, when you call up your rep, thank them for co-sponsoring if they have. If they haven't, of course, that's your first order of business. Please co-sponsor HB 1955. Second order of business, I want you to go talk to Plocker and ask him to put this into committee. Third order of business, email Plocker and call his office. Ask him to put it into committee. And then fourth, call your rep and literally say, I contacted Plocker. I contacted Plocker's office, and I've requested it go into government efficiency and downsizing, so that they know that a phone call was made to Plocker. This is really important because, honest to God, I don't think what happened last year for the phone calls going in for gold and silver was epic. Absolutely epic. Thank you for our friends in Ron's basement for helping out with that exercise, with that campaign. Thousands of phone calls in 2 days into Plocker's office. No kidding. And we never heard about it. No one heard about it. No one. No one in Plocker's office talked to the outside world or to any other LAs. Apparently, that's a Plocker rule within his own office. And when people are requesting certain bills, go ahead and write their names down, but you don't talk about it. And frankly, I don't think Plocker wanted to hear it either. So I'm sure that just died right with the LAs or the chief of staff or what have you. Okay, so that's what we can do to help silver and gold along. Let me talk real quick now about SB 735. That actually moved this week. And that actually is moving quickly, very quickly through the Senate. So that has amendments now. That bill has changed. So please do take a look at that. And by the way, they're good amendments. They're really good amendments. So this should not surprise any of you. The bill has been enhanced. It's been made better. It's been made a little bit more exciting, actually. And so you can check that out on Senator Eigel's page, and it is SB 735. So you could check out what changes have been made to the bill. But I'll tell you basically one of them right away, is that we have incorporated apparently into our bill now, the fact that Nazi coinage will not be considered legal tender in the state of Missouri. That's right. That's pretty exciting, gang. Because I don't think Peter Meredith has ever gotten any legislation across the finish line in his 8 years of being there. And he's the one who was all concerned about Nazi gold. So basically his fears, his projection of racism, and his natural stupidity all coalesced into what we call the Meredith Amendment onto SB 735. So congratulations to Peter Meredith. Your concerns about Nazi gold and Nazi silver are forever enshrined within SB 735. Your words, your concerns, your fears, have greatly moved the people of Missouri to the point where apparently the need was there to look out for Nazi gold and Nazi silver from going into circulation in the state of Missouri. So thank you for that, Peter Meredith. I hope you vote yes for the bill now.
Just hilarious.
Another.
Hilarious.
I think this is wonderful. It was one of my big concerns also.
What about, Nazi gold? There's been horrible regimes before the Nazis. Look at Attila the Hun. Would you, why isn't Meredith worried about Attila the Hun gold or coins or something? It's all just, Nazi stuff.
What about who was that? Was that really that tyrant emperor of Rome?
Nero?
I can't remember. Yeah, Nero was one.
Caligula?
Yeah, Caligula. What about Caligula gold?
Yep, that he was a monster. Yep.
Yeah.
So, but that's all right. Peter Meredith, if you end up ever watching this, we have you covered, man. Thank you so much for being a representative in the state of Missouri, and thank you for basically representing the basal fears of dozens of Democrats across the state. Nazi gold going into circulation in the state of Missouri. We cannot stand for that. So now there is a provision within SB 735. When that gets to the House, we expect you to vote yes, because everything you were concerned about has now been addressed. Okay, let me talk about another amendment that has been found on SB 735. And that is basically a reminder that businesses will now be able to pay their employees, either in full or partially, their compensation in gold and silver, either in electronic form or in physical form. So that's kind of, some candy to a meat and potato bill to begin with. So now we got some real good sweet stuff in there. And so I think that we got some really good amendments going on in that bill. So at any rate, but just remember the Peter Meredith Amendment. I think it should always be remembered as that. The Meredith Amendment, something like that. The Ginger Amendment. There's a lot of names we could give it, I suppose. But at any rate, I think apart from talking knock and shock And then Deb's Barn in Owensville, Missouri. Let me cover this real quick, and I'll cover it before we end the show and everything, but we're not ending yet. Don't worry, gang. I've been long-winded, and I'm sorry, but I had a lot of information I wanted to convey. First things first, I want to let you guys know that Dr. Charles Lewis is going to be on Off the Cuff tomorrow night on Sam's show. And if you guys have not heard this guy before, please tune in. It's a treat. Let me tell you a little bit about his background. Some of you know him. Some of you have even talked to him before. And he has actually come into our live streams in a couple of times in the past. But he is an executive board member of UPMA, which is the United Precious Metals Association. He's a board member of that bullion bank. An absolute expert on gold and silver, not just gold and silver transactions, but storage as well, plus how bullion banks operate. But he's also a doctor of natural healing. So I want you guys to know that he is going to be on, looks like, for the entire 3-hour show tomorrow night, and you guys can call in and ask questions. So at any rate, just so you know, he is absolutely fascinating. You got to kind of keep him corralled in sometimes because he goes off on some tangents, but at the same time, his stories are fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And he has a very interesting history besides being a doctor and on the board of UPMA. So I'm just reminding you all, tomorrow night, if you're in the Owensville area, it's 101.3 FM on your radio. But never fear, if you're not in Owensville, Sam also streams from his website. That's molibertyradio.us. And you can listen to his actual entire radio station full time right from the stream. But of course, I'm just asking for the 6 to 9 p.m. tomorrow night. Okay, beyond that, we have the Knock and Shock on January 30th. Remember how we kind of canceled Knock and Shock because of the weather? Not just the weather, but also the fact that they were going to technical days in the House. And that means a lot of House members are not there. That's what that basically means. So we've rescheduled it for January 30th, backup date of January 31st, but 30th is our primary date. And we're working on gold and silver.
An issue with the
Go ahead.
They shouldn't have an issue with the 30th, considering it's supposed to be in the 40s all week this next week and
Okay.
into the week after. So
okay, well, I'll take
upper
it.
30s to 40s.
Yep. So all right. So I'll have flyer, a brand new flyer. You know, you guys saw the flyer that we distributed on the 10th. I'll have a brand new flyer for Knock and Shock on the 30th, and we should, because we have new information anyway. So we don't use the same flyers over and over again. We just don't do that. We have fresh flyer every time we go up. But also, when Knock and Shock is done, and by the way, please come if you can. This is a good time. It's a lot of fun. But after that, we're going to Owensville, Missouri, to Deb's Barn, and this was in our email. The address is 107 West Lincoln in Owensville, Missouri, 65066 if you're GPSing it. And we're going to talk, once again, this is my wife Retha's seminar, basically. We're going to go, and we're going to talk specifically about Gasconade R1. She's going to cover everything that's going on with the numbers in the schools district that has to do with everything. Go ahead. R2. I'm sorry, R2. You're right. R1 is Herman. Thank you very much for that correction. She's going to cover all the numbers that have to do with the finances of the school district, but also the numbers of daily attendance, the numbers of teacher to student ratio, the numbers of how they're doing with basic math, science, English, and history. And just a heads up for those of you who can't make it, they're not doing too well, unfortunately. But they want to max out their bonding capacity, to build all kinds of new athletic, buildings and equipment and that sort of thing. But they don't want to borrow money to help get people's grades up. That apparently that's not on their radar. It's all about athletics on the $16.5 million bond they're about to go after. So that's something that we'll be talking about as well, because for some reason the school board and the superintendent just don't seem to be concerned about all the, C students they have, within their ranks. Doesn't bother them. They think that's okay.
Patrick?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say no concern at all about academics, and that's the problem we've had throughout this whole thing. I do want to mention that in case some people can't make it like before, we will have some audio of that meeting. I'm going to make sure that I record, and if anybody's got any video they can shoot while they're down there, that would be good too. But I guarantee you we'll have audio of the event.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated. And this is, guys, this is somewhat similar. And once again, this is my wife's. My wife does these seminars. I'm there, basically, and I help out just a little bit. But she is the main focus of attention on these things. She's doing all the research on that. She handles the school stuff. I'm, gold and silver and other things. But so we do different things in the initiative, of course. And I talk about my friend Isaac in the initiative all the time. He's working on something very different from the rest of us. So the people in the initiative, there's no ties to working on something. I mean, you work what you feel is important. Bring the information to the group, and let's see what we can do with it. And that's basically the way it started with the schools. But the fact of the matter is, what's happening with the Missouri Freedom Caucus is very much like what's going on with basically the Missouri Freedom Initiative. We are exposing a lot of stuff throughout this state. And one of them is the insane practice of lying to everyone about whether or not your taxes are be affected, basically by a no tax increase bond issue, which is a lie. Your taxes will still go up. They just don't go up vertically. They go up horizontally. And then, of course, when your county raises your property taxes every 2 years, 10%, 12%, sometimes 15%, I've been hearing in some areas near Kansas City. Every 2 years.
Kansas City area is upwards of 50%.
50%. I'm sorry, not 15, but 50%. When that happens, the schools get a huge raise. They don't need extra bonds. I mean, something's got to happen, gang. We are turning into Illinois really frickin' quickly here in Missouri with property taxes.
Patrick, that's a great point on that one, because what we're seeing is, and Aretha showed me this, is we're seeing they're getting this increased revenue coming in, and they should be refunding back what they didn't.
That's right.
Over what they got approved, they should be refunding back to the taxpayers, and they haven't been doing it. And they go after more and more bonds along the way. So they really owe us a refund. And one of the things that was brought up at the January 10th meeting was, maybe these counties need to start doing audits on real estate and personal property tax, and then audit the school district money and see how those correlations are, and see if the taxpayers aren't owed money back.
Yep.
Because of these school boards.
Yep, I agree. And once again, this kind of stuff, rolls downhill pretty quick. The fact is, Retha gets no coverage from the mainstream media. Well, I don't either. None of us do in the Missouri Freedom Initiative, really. But the fact is, the schools, what they're getting away with is DESE is turning a blind eye to it. The Missouri School Board Association is turning a blind eye to it. Of course, they're the ones who are doing it as well. This is an outright criminal enterprise happening within these public schools. Are we saying public schools are evil and they have to be blown up and we must be rid of? No, we're not saying anything like that at all. We're talking about the fact that there is no accountability on the financial side of what's going on with the public schools in the state of Missouri, and probably nationwide. Probably.
Oh, it's guaranteed to be nationwide, considering a lot of it is directed by the Department of Education.
Well, and this is
the federal.
Go ahead.
The federal one that, yeah.
Well, this is, the main problem that we have going on right now. And by the way, I'm off the soapbox now. This is general conversation with everyone, and I'll start reading comments. But please get involved in, basically making sure that your school, in fact, Retha and I had a joking session the other night, and it's just like the superintendent should be at every polling place in their district, handing out, a jar of Vaseline for every yes vote. Honest to God, that's the way we feel about it. And Retha pointed out, not the cheap, dollar store stuff. We're talking about actual petroleum jelly, because they do try to get away cheaply sometimes. But the fact of the matter, and yes, we joke about that. That's probably not appropriate joking. I get that, and I'm sorry about that. But this is something that really upsets Retha and I, is how much the public schools get away with. Do it for the kids. Do it for the kids. And of course, if you speak out against the public schools, then you hate kids and you hate teachers. You hate freedom. You hate democracy. You're racist suddenly. You're xenophobic. What else? You're transphobic. They just throw names at you.
I haven't heard xenophobic in a while.
Oh, well, let's make it.
Thank you for reminding me that one exists.
Mm-hmm. You betcha. And I think it's
Oh,
time.
there's your Minnesota accent coming out. You betcha.
You betcha. Yeah, sure, you betcha. But
Patrick,
yes,
yeah, I was going to make one comment, and that this is something that somehow people have to be made aware of, and that is this is how they will gradually, ever so gradually, get you out of your private property.
sure.
As long as you owe taxes on that property, it's not yours, and they could just keep jacking stuff up, either the schools or just whomever, until eventually you have what is going on out in California now, where a lot of seniors have been booted out of their properties. They can no longer afford the taxes, and so you got seniors that are forced to have to leave the state just to survive, and that'll happen here if this keeps going.
Yep.
Yep. My grandparents, their usual taxes with their vehicles and everything in their house was usually $6,000 a year.
Yep.
Already in Jackson County. Now it's $9,000.
Wow. That is
So it meant
insane.
50%. That is a 50% increase.
Well, and I don't know what to say anymore about this stuff, gang. Sam is right. And Sam and I talked about this earlier today. We're both in agreement on this. And by the way, coming from different points of view, different pieces of information, it all comes down to the same thing. This is about restriction of property rights. That's what public schools are here to do, is to take away your property, believe it or not. And I'm not saying that the public school is going to march over to your house and take away your property. I'm saying they're going to ultimately make it too expensive for you to own. You're going to have to sell it to someone who can't afford the property taxes. And then you're going to have to, move someplace where the property taxes are lower, particularly if you're on a fixed income. This is all about owning nothing and being happy, the way Klaus Schwab said we should all be.
Owning nothing and well-being. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
let's see. And I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm going to start commenting on all the comments here.
Klaus Schwab should lead by example.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that I'm not going to say what I think should be done to Klaus Schwab on the. So.
Yep. And just so you know, JRM is checking in on the Odyssey side, saying, good evening, folks, watching Trump in New Hampshire this evening. So, hey, but apparently he's watching us too. So thank you for watching us both. And let's see. Cheryl corrected me too. She was talking R2 as opposed to R1. So thank you for that, Cheryl. And yes, I do need to be corrected sometimes when I speak. I speak too fast, and I speak faster than my mind works sometimes. Okay, let's go on to Rumble here. And we have Ozark's Freedom Gal, who has been saying quite a few things. She says, hey, that's my brother. And I think she was referring to Isaac when I was referring to Isaac, who does a lot of research on a lot of different things. GG333, Bill Eigel is working on it, defunding Desi. Will Scharf says Desi should be investigated. Yes, I believe that's absolutely true. However, the problem is it'll never happen. We'll never get Desi truly investigated. I wish we could, but with the current crop of people we have in office, that ain't going to happen.
It's called We Investigated Ourselves.
That's
and
right.
Found out we did nothing wrong.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And the AG's job is to defend every department in the state of Missouri against the people. I found that out, which really sucks. But that's the AG's job.
Yep. And let's see. Lots of links and stuff. I don't want to go through the links here this close to the end of the show. But Misty provided the link to the Government Efficiency and Downsizing Committee. So thank you for that, Misty. Very much appreciated. And yes, gang, we do need to take a proactive stance on moving gold and silver. People are trying to do this on the inside. They're needing more from the outside. So please continue with the phone calls, the emails to Plocker and to your rep. Particularly remind your rep, if they've not co-sponsored yet, that you need their name on that bill. Let's get more co-sponsors. We should have a lot more than we have right now. But I think a lot of this is because of what they were referring to as chaos going on in Jefferson City. I say it's not chaos. I think it's very different from that. I think actually we're starting to get some attention and actually put people on notice right now that the GOP is not keeping up with the priorities they stated that they would be having. So Okay, moving on to the YouTube side. Nevada Cario is checking in. Hey there, Nevada Cario. Thank you for joining us tonight. Let's see, Gary Ride. Let's see. Shelby County's on hold with SB 190 until, and by the way, that's the bill that passed last year that allows senior citizens and those on fixed incomes and disability to stay capped at property tax. No more increases for them. So Old Gunner says, Shelby County is on hold with SB 190 until the legislature clarifies who gets the property tax freeze. Well, actually, that's to be determined by individual counties. The counties can actually do that. I mean, that's the way they had to get the bill through. I mean, it sounds stupid, but I did learn that. That was really the only way they could get it through, is if they basically gave that power to the counties. And now you could put pressure on your county to get it done. What's happening right now in Shelby County, apparently, is they are literally trying to pass the buck back to the legislature because they don't want to give those breaks. Or, I'm sorry, it's not even a break. It's a freeze. It's a freeze. It's not a break. So so forgive my vernacular on that one. Let's see. John with the Missouri Liberty Report is chiming in on YouTube as well. So thank you for chiming in, John. Let's see. Nice Car Dude says, I know SEPA has been scratched at since day one, but I don't see that ever going away. At least it should not. I think, but once again, that's February. We'll know a lot more in February, but I don't think they're getting rid of SEPA either. Hey, and it's Serenity, Asylum Acres. Howdy, Patrick. Good to see you. Hey there, Serenity. Thank you for chiming in. And she's from Travis's Prepared Homestead Network, by the way. So thank you for coming in. And I think, apart from Elmira, let's see, Lincoln County checking in, and I cannot wait for the county caucuses. I'm going to see if I can stream the Lincoln County on my Rumble feeds. Both Republicans and Democrats have caucus at the same time, apparently. So, yep, ours, it's March 2nd in the state of Missouri. So check with your Republican Central Committees if you want to be a part of the caucus. They may already have enough people. They may not have enough. You never know. But you definitely want to be in there and not a Democrat for the Republicans, because that's a standard, deceptive practice they use, is try and get Republicans in there to be in the caucus side on the Republicans. Democrats do that all the time. In fact, they're expecting that in New Hampshire. They expected it in Iowa as well. Let's see, just those who cannot go at least hear what was going on during these meetings. Okay, gotcha. Understood, Al. That would be great, and I'd be very happy to link those up, basically in my email newsletter. If you have recordings of what's going on at a caucus, I'd be very, very happy to post that, and I'm pretty sure Sam might be interested in some of that too, if the audio makes a lot of sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep, because what goes on in these caucuses is pretty critical right now. Okay, I think I'm done. Let's see. I think I'm done reading comments for right now, gang. And if there's something that you guys really need me to read out loud, type it in all caps, please, because I'm manning a whole bunch of different socials at one time. Okay, we should definitely open it up though for everybody. Anyone have anything I missed or they'd like to talk about? How about you, Sam?
Well, I can tell you one fight we're starting down here, as if we don't have enough of them already.
Yep.
And that's against these smart meters that the electric utilities are putting in.
Yep.
They've been roaming around Owensville here just recently, putting these things in. And most people have no idea what's coming down the pike after they successfully put these in. And that is that everything is going to eventually go to time of day pricing. And I had experience with this because we fought this back when I was alderman here in the city, back in the mid-2000s when I was on the city council. And we fought this because the city was doing it. But they called them demand meters. But basically the way it worked was they took advantage, in this case, of small businesses. They would put 2 meters on a building one would be the regular meter, which would run during the night, and the other one would be the meter that would run during the day that would basically gouge the heck out of the business.
Sure.
And so we switched to Ameren to get rid of that. Well, now Ameren's going to be doing this with everybody. There's a friend of ours, Patrick, you know who I'm talking about, that calls in from South Carolina on my show.
Yes, I do.
And he was telling me that his rates are so high out there that he has to turn off his freezers and refrigerator from the hours of 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. in order to save any money, because if he turns all that stuff on, his rates just absolutely go through the roof during those hours.
Okay.
So this is what's coming.
Oh, up here in this area, you're talking about the electric meters and everything. Yeah, they're already on time of day over here, Pleasant Hills, south of Kansas City.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we found that out here a while back because that was the first one I heard about. Then I started finding out about what our power company down here. If you're in South Central Missouri, in these areas like Owensville and surrounding areas, there's a few co-ops around the area, but basically everybody is on Ameren UE, Ameren Union Electric, and if you're on that power service, if you haven't already got a smart meter, you will. And when you do, that greases the skids for them to be able to do this. So what I'm basically going to be looking into next week is how to opt out of this. And Patrick, didn't you tell me about one representative here in the state that's fighting this?
There is, and I can't remember who it was, and it was legislation from last year, fighting the smart meters.
Yeah.
I can't, and it was in the House. It was no, I can't remember who.
Okay.
But yes, there is
We
someone.
can find out. I'd love to interview them if we can find out who they were, because
Yep.
The word needs to get out about this, because basically we're getting screwed from every side, from every angle. I mean, between school bonds and all kinds of other stuff, and then this too, and everything else. I mean, eventually it's going to get to the point where a lot of people will just say, forget it, and just go off grid. I mean, I got one friend of mine out in Southwest Missouri, not too far from you, that is our webmaster, and he's already doing that. He's ordering up batteries and just going totally solar off grid and just be done with it.
It's time. It's time.
I'd actually like to see them smart. They put one on my apartment I live in. I have to live with it. I've tried to get it removed. I would have to get pretty much my landlord to jump their ass to get rid of it.
And they want to charge you to put on the old analog meter as well. They want to charge you a monthly fee for having it, because they claim they have to send someone out to check, as opposed to the digital way they can check with the smart meters. But it's ridiculous how much they want. It's. I remember when I called mine, and they said they could do it, but it was a one-time fee of $600 plus an additional, I think it was $29 per month for someone to come out and read the meter. And then I could have analog meter back.
We used to read our own meters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's funny is
they did wind up saying, yeah, I could actually, but yeah, it was going to cost me every month having my.
Yep.
The question is spending $29 a month to do that saving you more than it actually costs you to.
No, it's the people want the smart meters gone for health concerns. That's what it's about, because these things are emitting all kinds of stuff on the electromagnetic frequencies, particularly on 2 microwave frequencies. That are, some people find they get headaches from being close to those meters for any given time, and that's the reason they think it is. Of course, the industry is saying nonsense. That's not true. That can't, that's absolutely untrue. But some people do have, basically some type of allergic reaction to some types of radiation, even on low level, microwaves. And it just happens. It's just the way it is. So what Sam's talking about is actually, there was a very big issue going back 10 years ago. But they pretty much forced everyone to smart meters now. And once again, they did it by saying, well, yes, you can keep your old meter for a $600 one-time fee, and then $29 a month, you can keep your old analog meter. And you don't have to go to a smart meter.
Yeah. The other thing that people need to be aware of is they can also, through these meters, they decide they don't want you doing a certain task during a certain hour of the day, because see, they'll use scarcity as an excuse, because see, as they're putting these meters in, they're also taking down generating capacity and going to this stupid supposed renewable stuff. So
Right.
basically what you're going to have is the power company, they decide they don't want you running your dishwasher, your laundry, your water heater, whatever during a certain period of time.
Mhm.
Eventually, all appliances will be equipped with interfaces that will receive a signal from that meter where they can shut them down. Just ask the people in Colorado here about a year or so ago when it got up in the 90s and come back to
Technically, that's a Fourth Amendment violation too.
Sure.
Not really, because
Oh,
it's not
absolutely.
government directly.
True, but
Well, it's being funded
It's-
by
it's-
government, so it's
This is true. Now, if you were to pull that in court, yeah, you could probably pull that off. But as of right now, as any court or anything sees it, it's a situation where, well, that's a private industry doing that, even though they're not. They're heavily subsidized. Really, there needs to be a separation in that definition of a private industry and a government hybrid. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, this was actually funded because we followed it all the way back to the Bush administration. And so this president's come and go, but the agenda still keeps moving forward. And
Mhm.
this all came out of funding from the Defense Department.
Oh,
and that's
figures.
the funny thing. These corporations expect us to respect their constitutional rights, but they have no problem. I'd say no. We need to start having that same stance. They violate our constitutional rights. We need to violate theirs.
No, we don't violate anyone's constitutional rights. But what we will do is we'll
But
make
you
it
get what I'm
very, very
saying.
public.
A corp.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way: there's a difference between a private company and a government-funded corporation. A government-funded corporation might as well be part of government, and therefore they don't necessarily have constitutional rights because they're part of that entity. Nonetheless, there's no definition in law to define the difference, which is where the problem comes, and there's no court precedent to define the difference.
Okay, I got something I need to tell Sam. Sam, I'm incorrect. Misty Atkinson chimed in, and it was apparently a Senate bill. It was Mary Elizabeth Coleman that had the smart meter bill.
Okay. I have to try to. It's going to be. I tried to interview her one time.
I know.
But she would only stay around for just a very few minutes. I mean, not enough to do anything.
Yep, 15
And that's
minutes or
the bad part
something.
of it.
Yep, I remember that. And that was when we were trying to talk to her about removing sales tax from food in the state of Missouri.
Yeah.
So, yep, I remember that. And we just couldn't get her for very long. At any rate, now you know who it is, Mary Elizabeth Coleman. And I was incorrect. I was almost positive that was in the House. Maybe there was a House version. I don't remember Mary Elizabeth Coleman having that bill. So there might have been a House version of it, too. And once again, very, very important. I mean, if you're not in Missouri and you're fascinated by what we're doing in the Capitol, what we're doing with our live streams, please join us, learn what we're doing, and then try to emulate it in your state. Freedom is not limited just to the people of Missouri. I mean, yes, we have motivated people here. One of the great things about being in Missouri is per capita, I think we have the strongest grassroots out of any state in the entire 50 United States per capita. We have more activity going on with grassroots and freedom-loving, Constitution-loving, folks in the state of Missouri. And a lot of people say, no, that's nonsense. It's all in New Hampshire. No, that's not true at all, actually. New Hampshire is technically behind when it comes to activism, but what they are ahead of is in legislation. But they're at a standstill now. You can do this in your state. I don't get paid. No one who's on the panel gets paid. There is no donations to this organization. Your own time, your own dime is what we say. And we literally work just to make our state a better place. And I'm a computer guy. I'm an IT consultant. That's what I do for a living. That's separate from what I do for the Missouri Freedom Initiative. But I do this with my own time to make sure that our state doesn't collapse like Illinois did. When you have kids and grandkids, it changes your perspective on things and how things need to be, going into the future and what you leave behind. And so I would like to say that if you're in another state, please do join us, watch us, listen to us, ask us questions, and start something in your state. If you're in Missouri, please join us. Absolutely. In fact, keep in mind, January 30th, you may think, oh, you have to be, know the secret handshake to go to Knock and Shock. Holy mackerel. We meet brand new people we've never met before come up and join us for Knock and Shock every single event. So everyone's welcome. This is the way we, as residents of the state of Missouri, appeal to our government. We go and talk to individual representatives and senators. We talk with them, by the way. We don't talk to them. We talk with them. We want to know what their thoughts are, too. So please do engage in this exercise if you're in the state of Missouri by coming with on January 30th to Knock and Shock at the Missouri State Capitol. I will print out all the flyers we'll be distributing, so you don't need to bring anything but yourself and your lunch. If you're staying there all day, if you can only come for an hour or two, that's great. We'll take you. Once again, gang, this really is really important. This is a biggest thing that we do in the Missouri Freedom Initiative is Knock and Shock. We show up. In fact, that's what we show up. That's one thing all the reps and all the senators tend to say about us all the time. Oh, Missouri Freedom Initiative? Yeah, they show up. That's right. We do show up. We show up at the Capitol. We go and talk to them, but we also make phone calls and do emails too. But we make sure to visit them and make sure that they know that we care about them. So as individuals, we even go to Democrat offices. So we talk to Democrats as well. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I got it now. Misty Atkinson said Hardy Billington. That's correct. I remember that. That was a Billington bill, and that was HB 1175. So last year, Sam, Hardy Billington carried the meter bill, the smart meter bill.
Okay.
So we can, and Hardy, we can probably get for an interview. It's kind of difficult to understand him sometimes, though.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we'll talk to him. We'll talk to him about that and see if we can get him on your show.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay, I'm looking through the comments here. Okay, hang on. Misty says the Capitol does have a decent breakfast and lunch place in the basement. Yes, it does. But at the same time, if you're bringing 5, 6, family members, it can get quite expensive, Misty. It might be cheaper, to bring their own lunch, that sort of thing. But I do want to echo what Misty said. Actually, they have a really, really good diner down in the basement of the Capitol.
Yeah. When they have their Italian food, oh my God.
Yep, lasagna.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to go for the turkey club quite a bit. Turkey club sandwich when I eat down there. So
there's something wrong with you there. You got to get the Italian.
Oh man, no, turkey club. Just a little bit of bacon. They're not putting enough bacon in the lasagna, is what I found out. And so that's
if you need an escape. If you need to escape from the Capitol, go across the street to Ari's. You get the pizza buffet over there.
There you go.
It's cheap and good food.
Yep. There we go. So there's plenty of options.
Hey, Patrick.
I've heard they got a real nice bar next to Blocker's office, too.
Thank you, Shane. Yeah, you can drink your lunch by visiting with our Speaker of the House, Dean Blocker. Massive liquor cabinet. The word on the street is he's got $10,000-$15,000 worth of booze in that liquor cabinet over there. So if you're into drinking your lunch, just visit it with the House Speaker.
It's not a liquor cabinet. It's not a liquor closet. It's a liquor room.
A liquor room.
It is.
Some of us are not. Some of us are not disappointed by that, and some of us support people having the ability to do that in their own house. Because some of us may have their own whiskey room. Okay.
I'm not saying there's a problem with the whiskey room. I'm saying there's a problem with a House Speaker on a turning the neighboring office into a whiskey room and then kicking the guy out that had that office.
Yeah.
And then using taxpayer dollars to fill it.
Yep. There's a bit of an ethics issue going on there, I think. Yep. Let's see. B. Hoffner is asking. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
People need to know that there are places to put your lunch as well if you bring one.
Yep.
Refrigerators.
Yep, that's right. Home base. So thank you for reminding me on that, Doug. Home base, we have 2 home bases this year. We have Senator Bill Eigel's office, and Representative Bill Hardwick's office. They're both large offices and can accommodate lots of coats, and then also lunch boxes, plus they have refrigerators. So if you need to keep some cold stuff cold or some frozen stuff frozen, you have access to refrigerators in our home bases as well. And so at any rate, there's always place to store stuff. So that's not been a problem. And for overflow, Misty has told us that Holly Jones is offering up her office as well. If we have overflow, if we have like 100 people show up, those 2 offices won't be enough. And Chad Perkins has offered up his office for Knock and Shock as well. So we have lots of friends at the Capitol, by the way, that are very happy to see us, and then want to do everything they can to make it a pleasant experience for us to go up there and appeal to our representation. And they make us feel very welcome by allowing us to use their places for home base. So, and I'm very appreciative
Patrick,
of it. Go ahead.
I was holding off on this. I forgot about telling you this. Representative Tricia Burns out of District 63, Wentzville area, wants to meet with you because I have exposed to her the stuff that Retha has come up with on these school districts and school boards.
Okay.
And she's very interested. She has 2 pieces of legislation out right now dealing with school districts.
Okay.
One's protecting parents against school districts taking lawyers and hiring against them, advocating for their kids. The other is the Childhood Freedom Initiative, saying that if you're bullied, you're not going to get punished for fighting back and standing up for yourself.
Yep.
And then she's also doing one other bill for missing Missourians. There's a damn database we can get tied to. We got like 500 John Does in the whole system in Missouri.
Okay.
And she's like, why are we not using this? We're paying for it. Let's use it. And so that's what she's doing.
Okay.
So she's got legislation that we like, and she wants to see something about the school bonds, and she wants to see if she can help us by putting some legislation in there or putting wording in some of her legislation.
Sure. Absolutely. In fact, I got a visit with Tricia anyway because she hasn't co-sponsored HB 1955 yet. We visited with her on the 10th, and she was going to do that. So I need to remind her to do that anyway. So it's a good excuse to talk to her.
I'm going to text her right now, just so you know.
Okay, great.
I'm going to text her. HB what?
HB 1955. And when we spoke to her on the 10th, she was a big fan of silver and gold and said she was actually in street clothing. You can actually put that in there because I didn't know she was a rep. I thought.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. And so, so at any rate, we didn't address her as a representative at first. We thought she was in L.A. and then surprised us and said, no, actually, I'm the representative. But she was wearing a hoodie and blue jeans. So
yeah, she was like,
she's really good. She impressed the hell out of me last session.
Oh, yeah.
She looks to be one of those freedom-minded ones that goes, what are we going to do for Missouri and stop this BS fighting between ourselves?
Yep, I agree with you. And I know I like Tricia very much, but it's time for a gentle reminder on the co-sponsorship, and then I'll get that information to Retha. Retha's probably listening in right now on the live stream anyway. So if she's taking notes, Tricia Burns, I've already got written down, Retha, and she wants to talk to you about what's going on with the school stuff. And she's a rep.
I think that day when we had that conversation, she went in there, sat down, probably looked at it, and then
got called away.
She was dreading. Yeah, I know she was dreading driving back too.
Yep.
That crap.
Yep. So, okay. So thank you for that, John. I do appreciate that. And yep, we will definitely hook up with Tricia when we go back on the 30th. By the way, Retha is also coming up for Knock and Shock on the 30th. Because Retha is developing her own little fan club here with the school stuff. She's doing some very impressive work that no one's ever seen before. And the fact of the matter is she's developed her own way of actually figuring out and actually auditing the bonds on these schools. And so she's an impressive force to be reckoned with. And I think she should be talking to more reps. She did have a meeting with Daryl, gosh darn it, Chappell from Springfield, and showed him all the data. And so, at any rate, I think Retha needs to talk to more politicians. So we'll make sure that meeting happens on the 30th. So thank you, John. Okay, and Shane, I just want to thank you for your excellent recommendation of basically drinking the lunch with Plocker, because actually we've already paid for it as Missourians. That liquor cabinet is completely full of liquor, and I do believe that was paid for by the people. I don't think Plocker paid for any of that.
I heard it was top shelf, too.
Yeah, it probably is, knowing Plocker. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And once again, I'm not here to recommend that people drink their lunch, but I'm just saying if that's something you're into, I mean, you gotta meet our Speaker of the House, because I think that's what he does too.
What about somebody who's on a liquid diet for some reason? They
Well-
got to drink their lunch.
Yeah, well, yeah, I understand if there's feeding goes through the stomach tube or something like that. I get that, but at the same time, what I'm talking about with drinking your lunch is more alcoholic based, because we're talking about Dean Plocker here. Dean Plocker actually gives classes, basically to during the initiation. When brand new people are elected, on how to hide alcohol. Basically on the floor of the house when you're actually working, and how to hide it in your office, and what types of alcohol are less smelly than others, that people will be less likely to detect. So if you're wanting to know all of these things, all you have to do is get elected to the House of Reps, and then actually go in for your initiation, or whatever as they call it, and then actually learn from Plocker how to do all these things.
So
he reminds me of that judge. Remember how when Chung was in that glass of water, but it turned out to be vodka.
Yep.
He's following the Pelosi
yeah.
figure.
Yep.
What is it with House speakers and drinking a lot?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a
Including
frat.
showing up to work.
It's like a frat party house or something like that.
I mean-
it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
It's
gotta
just
do
like,
that just to cover their conscience.
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, here's one. I was gonna say there. So I'm gonna guess with the seminar that he puts on about which liquors to drink and not to drink, I'm assuming he's gonna suggest not use peppermint schnapps.
Okay. Well, yeah, peppermint schnapps you can smell pretty easily, but if you stay on vodka, that's a potato based. That has the least amount of smell. Gin, you do smell like a pine tree or a Christmas tree afterwards. So you got to be careful with gin.
Beer schnapps might be to the smell.
You could just go with like some apple pie moonshine and then have one of those apple pies from McDonald's there with it and be smelling that.
Yep. Okay. All right, gang. Well, I'm thinking about winding it down now. So I'm going to take a look at some of your comments again and see if there's anything I've missed. As Cheryl is reporting, as many people that want to vote in the caucus can vote. Doors open at 8:30 and close at 10 a.m. You can register at mogop.org. So actually, that's something that many of us in the initiative may want to consider doing. So it doesn't take very long. It doesn't take a whole day to caucus. And let's see.
2%er is saying no on SB 984.
What bill is that, by the way, Voodoo?
I don't know. I'm just reading what the comment is underneath here.
Okay.
I don't know.
And JRM was asking Cheryl, are my messages visible? Yes, they were. I just wasn't reading. I'm down to one screen, JRM, currently until I get my problem fixed. So that makes it very difficult for me to maintain all these socials that we're live streaming on simultaneously and read all the comments. And so I apologize about that. Odyssey and Rumble are froze up, is what JRM said 8 minutes ago. I didn't know about that. Actually, I've got them going live, and they seem to be going okay for me. So,
Okay, 2%er says SB 984 creates the Intoxication Cannabinoid Control Act.
Okay, gotcha. So
that's the one where
they're
they
going
try
after
to come
hemp.
after. Well, yeah, hemp products and like Delta 8 that you already pick up at a convenience store, things like that.
Gotcha.
It's just pathetic.
Hey, Patrick.
Yes.
Rumble's playing per mile.
I'm sorry. I'm getting feedback from you. Something about Rumble?
Yeah, Rumble is working per mile.
Okay, gotcha. It's working on your side. Okay, I've been paying attention as well, and all the socials have been working with no problems that I could tell at all. And I'm not getting any reports that the stream is not working on any of the platforms, from my Prism software. So it might be just on your end, JRM. Okay. Okay. All right. Going over to Rumble now. Let's see. Plocker is out of order. Thankfully, he's gone. He'll be gone for good. That's right. This is his final year. And then we need to talk to people in the House of Representatives to stop voting for the person who brings in the most corporate cash in the Republican Party, to stop voting them in as Speaker. That tradition must go. It has to go. It's pure corporatism. And then we have all these problems for 2 years. And then representatives will say, don't worry. In 2 years, we'll fix this. Yet in 2 years, who do we have? Patterson. They voted for him 18 months in advance, even before the next election cycle. I suppose, just in case, they for some reason can't vote in 2025 or in April of this year or what have you, even before the election. Let's see. Audrey asks, what can we do about all the spraying in the skies? The answer is absolutely nothing. There's nothing we can do about it as people without discussing some very, very, very peculiar options. But the fact of the matter is that is a federal government operation, and we really can't do much about the federal government at this time. Once we have enough states that clean up their own backyards, though, we can start cleaning up the federal government. So that's when we can do something. Go ahead.
What about a SAM missile system?
That's what I was going to get into. But I'm thinking that'd be best off the Missouri Freedom Initiative, surface-to-air missiles, that sort of thing. But and I hear that they're going really cheap. I mean, actually, they're being sold on eBay out of Afghanistan right now. So,
nice.
Yep. So it's just leftover stuff that the U.S. left behind. So it's just they're selling them now.
I think you can get some out of Ukraine as well.
Ukraine, gotcha. Probably.
No, they're too busy using those right now.
You might. Well, all I'm saying is, if you're going for a surface-to-air missile system on eBay, shop around. Don't buy the first one you see. Seriously. Make sure you're getting good value for your dollar. And that's a joke, by the way. Holy mackerel, FBI. Just relax, you guys.
Well, I'm pretty sure that falls under ATF.
Okay,
and,
relax.
FAA.
Well, yeah, we're not worried about the ATF in the state of Missouri. So.
Well, but the FAA.
Oh, the Federal Aviation Administration?
Now, I did hear that they're hiring people with severe intellectual disabilities and severe psychiatric disorders. So that might get kind of crazy if they start investigating something. But hey,
yeah,
it's already starting. Just look at the airplane problems that have happened over just since the beginning of the year came along. I mean, we had that
Hang
Alaskan
on 1 second, Sam. Hang on 1 second. Hang on. Okay, Doug, we have you back?
Yes.
Okay, merging you with Sam right now. Okay, Sam, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We lost Doug, and he called back in.
No, that's fine. I'm just going to say that with all the craziness we've had with airliners since the beginning of the year, including the one that really made news about the Alaskan Airlines plane, Boeing, that blew out part of
the window,
the door. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's been some other ones since then, and this is what happens when you get political correctness run amok in all these agencies. I sure, there's no way I want to fly ever anywhere. I didn't like flying before, but I sure don't want any part of it now.
Yeah. You already have Anderson, renewal windows, blaming Pella, for that win. I'm teasing, by the way. Go ahead. I'm joking.
That's when you find yourself a friend that has a private pilot license and then just not worry about it anymore.
There you go.
Yep. All of us should be so lucky. Okay. All right, gang. Anything else that we've missed that we should be talking about tonight? I'm still going through the chat here, and I'm now on the YouTube side of things. Nevada Cario, or Pika Cario, says, you guys are just funny with that. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Sam I Am says, missed. I'll support that 1,000%. I'm so sick and tired of what would be nice blue skies and days here, but they've got the crap in the skies. Can't believe how ignorant people are to this. That's what Sam I Am says. And he's talking about Mike Moon's bill. Apparently Mike Moon has a bill to deal with chemtrails. So
there's a mixed bag of what's going on in our atmosphere too. You got the chemtrails, but then you've also got with our weakening magnetic field. If you see like kind of these vertical bubbly areas, that's
Yep.
infiltration of
Yep.
cosmic rays.
Okay. No, Nevada Cario was talking about the wine cellar. Actually, we weren't joking. I realized what we were saying was funny, but we're not actually joking. That's actually real. The wine cellar is Dean Blocker, Speaker of the House, right next to his office. He has a nice lauder himself in his own office, but apparently there just wasn't enough room. So he needed, an entire another office to turn into some kind of wine closet or something. A lot of boozing going on.
Out?
What's that?
Who was it he kicked out of that office to build that?
I can't remember. A lot of people are joking that it was Sparks because he ended up in the safe, but no, no, it was someone else. Misty, if you wouldn't mind chiming in, who got kicked out of their office so he could have that liquor cabinet?
Justin Sparks is in the safe.
Yeah, I know.
It's still
he's in the safe as part of the Capitol.
There's 2 vaults in that Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
On that or is it third floor? No.
Something like that.
It's second floor. Second floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same floor as Eigel. And one of them is Justin Sparks' office.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And let's see. John is in D.C. So John Williams, Missouri Liberty Report, is in D.C. right now.
Oh.
So awesome. Yep.
Hopefully we won't have to perform an exorcism on him.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We might have to perform an exorcism on him. John, do you feel like you're being, inhabited by some evil spirits right now at all? Chime in and let us know. I'll read it. You're in D.C. land. D.C., by the way, D.C. does have a very different feel to it. Just being there, it feels very different than being anywhere else I've ever traveled, with the exception, believe it or not, of Rolla, Missouri. Rolla has a weird feel to it.
I mean, considering where it is, it's like second location that all the people that go to Bohemian Grove go to. So,
okay, Misty's reports she doesn't know who was kicked out of their office for the liquor cabinet. Yeah, it's on a somewhere. It was either on a news story or something I read, or on Twitter or something. But someone actually had to vacate the office so he could convert it into a liquor cabinet. And so, we don't. And by the way, for Nevada Cario, who is in Nevada, in case you don't know, we're jostling for space in our capital. As our state grows in population, we need more reps and once in a while another senator. And we're just out of office space in our Capitol building. But, God bless the Speaker of the House. He's making sure everyone's as liquored up as possible on the House floor. But you have to be his friend, though. I wonder if he gives out monogram flasks to his friends. I wonder
Probably.
if, like, Bruce Sassman has a tiny flask he can hide in his jacket, that it just says, Friends of Blocker or something is inscribed on it or something.
Yeah, and I'm sure he has a gradient of which liquor he provides, where it's going to be, as close, tight knit, super. What's the word I'm looking for? What is it? His super squishies around him.
Okay, gotcha.
I bet they get the top shelf. Like the big top shelf, the 200-year-old whiskey.
Yep.
And like all the other ones that are like they just do a favor every now and again, probably gets like Canada Mist or something.
Yep. So I think, basically going forward, I think, we need to start thinking of, basically whether or not we can become drinking buddies with Dean Blocker. Maybe that's our in. Maybe that always has been our in. So if someone, wants to take a hit for the team, and try and become a drinking buddy with Blocker, just let me know. We'll see what we can do to get you in on that.
Oh, no.
So, was it Mike Stevens? You know what? It might have been Mike Stevens. He did move. And I'm not saying for sure, but he did move. I know for a fact that Mike Stevens was moved.
You know what? It might have been.
Yep. Next, laboratory stalls will become offices. Blocker gets first dibs for sure. Yep. Yep. You get your own little cubicle. They call it a toilet. Yep. So maybe that's what we have to look forward to.
I just had a picture of them oh god, them sticking a few Democrats in the bathroom, you know, and the seat is the toilet, and they have like a fold down desk that comes off of the stall wall.
Yep.
I bet you Dean Placker's fridge is filled with Bud Light.
Yeah. Well, it could be.
Could be.
It could be. None of us really know. None of us have actually been in Placker's refrigerator unless there's been some very serious reconnaissance I'm not familiar with. But I would suspect there would be booze in the refrigerator there. And hopefully not a pint or two of blood. And I'm sorry, that I didn't mean that. That was kind of a joke. Sorry about that.
Adrenochrome?
Yes, that's what I was.
Adrenochrome inclusion. Yeah.
Yep, that's what I was referring to. Well, and it's because Scott Vaughn keeps commenting how handsome Dean Blocker is and how young he looks for his age. And so, maybe there's adrenochrome involved. I mean, I don't know that. As a Missouri Freedom Initiative, we don't espouse that is the truth, and that's exactly what's happening. We're just asking questions. So, and by the way, we're just joking too. Gosh darn it. Everyone who thinks that, that we're all mean to these people, we're not. We're very polite when we go up to the Capitol, and we're very polite when we make phone calls and send emails. We really, truly are. But we do joke around, and we do it in the light. So people who don't like us up at the Capitol see us coming a mile away, but they just don't see our numbers. So that's the surprising thing about the Missouri Freedom Initiative is the sheer numbers that we're capable of bringing with us. So, and they can duck into other offices, as Lincoln Huff often does. When Lincoln Huff sees us coming, and he's walking from the opposite side of the hallway towards us, he literally ducks into the first room he can gain access to until we pass. So he just doesn't want to talk to me. Crab Cakes doesn't like me. I don't know why. I think I'm a really likable guy. Yep. So
maybe it has something to do with crab cakes.
Yeah, well, it could have something to do with crab cakes, but that was like 3 years ago, technically now. You'd think he would forget about that. Yep. Representative Unsicker was kicked out of her caucus across the hall from the Dems. Yeah, it's on the first floor. Yeah, I've spoken about that publicly, even on Springfield radio, that what they're doing to Unsicker is terrible. They're taking away her voice as a representative. She was elected by people to represent them, and she doesn't have a voice anymore because by the Democrat standards, she made a mistake. She was talking to someone in her district that they identified, I guess, as a white supremacist, and decided that she can't have a voice anymore within the Democratic Party. My God, by the way, I will never run for office. I'm making that promise and that pledge to all of you right now, and I do that everywhere I go because people think I am. Not interested. But I'll tell you what, though, if I ever did take an office and got elected to that office, I would feel free to speak to anyone in my district. And if anyone thinks that I'm talking to the wrong people and that I'm not making good choices, screw them. Because I feel that every single person in my district should be able to have access to me if I were elected. Every single person, no matter what religion, no matter what color, you represent everybody in that district. And that's what the Democrats have taken away from one of their own. It's a dog-eat-dog world, gang. And the Democrats are the first to feast on their own whenever the opportunity presents itself, whenever something happens that goes against their narrative.
Yeah, and apparently this person that she met with was, what was it? There was an ACLU article they presented for it.
Yep.
That or a Anti-Defamation League or something article.
Yep.
About that. Jesus.
Okay, hang on. I got on YouTube, I live 15 minutes from D.C. in Northern Virginia. I want to move to Missouri, and a friend suggested Texas County. There's a network of retired folks there, not just retired, but self-employed folks as well, by the way. Anyone know where the retired group is in Texas County? I don't know about a retired group, but I will tell you in Texas County is the largest homesteading network that we're familiar with in the entire United States of America, and that is our good friend Travis Maddox, the Prepared Homestead. So in Texas County, he's made it famous, actually. He's got a huge YouTube channel, over 100,000 subscribers, but he has public meetings. They're very public, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people go to those meetings every single month. Plus, he has nearly a meeting a week, meetings for different things. Like one of them is survival training. He holds trainings once in a while for that. There's prayer groups that he has. That's a smaller group. But at any rate, that may be what you're referring to. I'm not familiar with any other groups in Texas County, Missouri. And by the way, Texas County is a great place to live too. A lot of open space over there. But the problem is that Missouri is becoming a hot destination for people who are escaping tyranny where they live. And so it's driving up the property and home prices in the state of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm in Travis's Prepared Homestead group. Can't afford to attend in person. Recommend any realtors in Texas County. I'll tell you what I will do is I'll make some inquiries for you. JYL King, Jill King, email me, patrick@mofree.org. And email me, remind me what we were talking about, and I'll see what I can do for you and see if I can find you a real good realtor in the area. And Travis, I think, is hooked up with a couple of realtors in the area, too. So, and I'm in Christian County. So when I go to a Travis meeting, that's about a 2-hour drive for me. And Travis's next meeting is not this Sunday, not tomorrow, but next Sunday. So I intend to attend. Okay. Okay, you get my newsletter already. Okay, excellent. Okay, gotcha. Yep, just shoot me out an email, remind me of our conversation, and I'll start that. And get that underway. Okay. Dean Blocker, W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields was famous for drinking just a little bit, I think. Okay, heading out to Rumble. And I'll ask you guys if you have any other comments, questions, or anything else, throw them in because we're going to end the live stream here in just a few minutes. Let's see. Someone needs to go into Plocker's office with a breathalyzer test. That's a good idea, Maya.
Just put it, you know what? Just put it in front of a fan in there. It'll go off.
Yep. Let's see. And then Audrey says, I didn't know Rolla is a place of spiritual rituals. I don't know that it is either. I mean, I just get a weird feeling when I drive through there and when I've been there before. It feels like DC to me. It's.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's spiritual. I'm a very, very Christian guy, but I don't really talk a lot about that except for when it's expected of me. But the fact is, I think it's the Christian in me, and when I go to DC, it's a feeling in my chest. It's not in my fingers, my legs. It's just in my chest. And it feels like pressure. Like there's compression, a little bit more compression than would be considered normal in your chest. So that's kind of the feeling I get. And I get it in Rolla and I get it in Washington, D.C. Those are the only two places I've been that I felt that way.
You sure in DC it's not all the jamming systems over there?
Well, it could be. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I've talked to people about this before, and when I told someone about Rolla, I can't remember. That was a huge epiphany. 2 years ago, maybe, I was talking to someone about this on the phone, and they were saying, "Oh, you don't know about all the demonic activity in Rolla?" And I said, "No, I don't know anything about that." They said, "Yep, there's a lot of."
There.
So at any rate, I didn't know that, but I was just telling them that, because I was talking about an experience I had in Washington, D.C. to them, and that's why I brought the whole thing up to begin with. But okay, gang. Let's see. Elwood Real Estate, located in Dent. They do sales in Texas County, and they're real good. Okay, gotcha. Elwood, I've heard of them, actually.
Hey, Pat, I was going to say, you went up there with the chocolate coin last year?
Yes.
You should have went up there with a bottle of Goldschlager for Blocker.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe we get Blocker on board. It's co-sponsoring. Just bring them a bottle of booze. Will you please co-sponsor Silver and Gold?
Tell you what, though, Anybody that wants a over there, Branson West, which is a little like middle of nowhere out there, just north of the Arkansas border. There is a glass mansion over there with a helipad and like 350 acres, almost 400 acres of just woodland.
Yep.
It's for sale. It was $80 million in 2021. Now they dropped it to $60 million.
Yep. Hey, I got
Just
a
walk out back where the money tree grows.
About backstory on that, it was a Missouri gun range and everything else in it too, but it was some Missouri billionaire that some New Yorker propositioned him and made fun of him because he wore overalls all the time. So he was like, "All right, I'll show you what I can build."
There you go. Actually, I was going to tell you guys, I even got a note on Twitter here from someone in Ohio that wants to talk to our group and turn their attention in the direction of funding, looking into PACs and what's going on in Ohio. And the name of the organization is Ohio Rhino Hunters. So at any rate, yeah, we're making some inroads here across the United States as well, by the way, with the help of X. And, I know a lot of people are suspicious on Elon, and I am too. But one thing is certain, I am not on vacation anymore from Twitter since Elon took over. I used to take a lot of vacations on Twitter. They were short ones, 12, 24-hour, and one was a 3-day. But I don't get those at all anymore. Go ahead.
I've taken some pretty long ones.
Yeah, you have. You've had your account nuked as well.
Yeah, probably 8 times.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yep.
But
go ahead.
I've only gotten 1 or 2 vacations out of it now that Elon's taken over.
Yep. And I'm a little bit snarky on Twitter, particularly when I'm dealing with, politicians and stuff and people like Jess Piper. God bless you, Jess Piper. If you ever end up watching, it would be my honor, literally, if you would watch some of our live streams. Because I think because she's complaining about how badly the state has been run for the last 20 years under Republicans, and I'm asking her to help me expose all the Democrats that run as Republicans that have been running the state for the last 20 years. But she doesn't respond to me on Twitter on that. She doesn't want to talk about that. But
she likes the infiltration.
She does like the infiltration, and I guess her role is to complain as though the infiltration is not an infiltration at all, but a problem with the Republicans running the state of Missouri. But we all know that leadership is completely crawling with rhinos and squishies. And that's just the way it is.
She might have blocked me.
Oh, sorry, dude.
She blocked me a long time ago.
I'm lucky she hasn't blocked me yet. Very fortunate. And another thing I want to say about Twitter is that we're getting a lot of shout-outs, really nice comments from the 10th Amendment Center. And I would like to take a second to just plug the 10th Amendment Center with all of you. For those of you who are not familiar with the 10th Amendment Center, if you look in the description section of our video, we actually have a direct link to their blog. The 10th Amendment Center is run by 2 gentlemen, and that would be Michael Bolden and Mike Mahari. And that is a tremendous resource. If you're into the liberty business, if you care about the Constitution, if you care about the reason the Constitution was put together the way it was, the education they provide on their YouTube channel is invaluable. But the fact of the matter is they're helping to get the word out about what Missouri's doing with silver and gold. And they did this for us last year as well, but they're giving us an awful lot of shout-outs this year. I want to let you guys know that they exist, and also we're in regular communication with them as well. And they're good folks, and they're definitely looking at whatever Missouri's doing right now, because they're seeing a large grassroots activity in Missouri that they just can't see in any other state as well. So they recognize Missouri for that. So a big shout-out to Michael Mahari and Mike Bolden. You guys are awesome. Go ahead.
I need to get a hold of Mahari again and talk to him for a bit, give him some updates and stuff.
I'd love for them to come into a live stream, and that would be just the bee's knees right there if that happened.
I need to haze Mahari a little bit into.
Yep.
and
okay. With that, I'm going to remind everyone as we're closing up now I'm going to remind everyone that we have Knock and Shock on January 30th at the Missouri Capitol. We'll talk about it again in the next live stream. If you go back into your newsletters, all the information you need to know, basically is in those, but I'll send out another email with all that information yet again. After Knock and Shock is over, Retha is basically holding a meeting in Owensville, Missouri, talking about Gasconade R2. That is Owensville School District, and the way their shell game works with their finances at the school. And hopefully someone from the school district will actually show up to one of these meetings eventually. They all know about them. They're just not coming to the meetings, which is very interesting because we're accusing them of some very serious stuff here. And I guess their way of dealing with it is just, ignore. Just ignore and it goes away. And then also to remind everyone, tomorrow night on Missouri Liberty Radio, Dr. Charles Lewis is returning to Off the Cuff, and that starts at 6 p.m. Central Time. Once again, molibertyradio.us. Or if you're in Owensville, 101.3 FM, you can listen to it right on your FM dial. But Sam is interviewing Charles. I'll probably be on there. But the fact of the matter is, very, very fascinating man if you've never heard of him. But those in the Missouri Freedom Initiative are very familiar with Dr. Charles Lewis, being a board member of UPMA, basically the nation's largest bullion bank. So he's an executive board member of UPMA, by the way. So please
I might just add one thing, Patrick, on that subject, and that is I have had in the past, because of not getting around to interviewing people, accidentally letting people slip through my fingers because either they passed away or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I made up my mind. I'm going to do whatever we can to give Charles all the time he needs, not only on this show but in future shows from time to time, because he's getting up there too, and I've had this happen too many times where there's been people I wanted to interview and I'd say, I'm going to get around to it eventually. Then I never get around to it, and then something happens, and then I wish I had. So take advantage of this. Take advantage of this and learn all you can. I mean, I'm not saying anything's going to necessarily happen to him. I hope not. But the point of the matter is, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. So, my basic thing here is I want to give this guy all the time he needs and platform the best that I can so he can get out as much information as he wants.
I agree. And I think that's a real good idea. And also, Charles is just such a great guy. Once you get to know this guy, I mean, he's a plethora of information. He's not arrogant about it. He just knows so much stuff, and he's just one of the biggest sweethearts you'll ever meet. And that's one of the interesting things about him. But on the silver and gold side of things, he has a unique point of view of this because he does work for, the UPMA. It's a non-paid position. Yeah. There's no such thing as payment on the board, but he is on that board, and he's helping plan the future for that bullion bank in the environment that is growing across the entire United States, which is gold and silver legal tender legislation. So actually, he's a great guy to talk to for that as well, but also natural healing and the secrets that have been kept from us, basically on all kinds of natural healing. I mean, he's great on that kind of stuff too. So I just wanted to remind folks, please tune in tomorrow and keep in mind, and Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, you're taking phone calls.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Phone calls, absolutely. 6 to 9 p.m. Central. If you're living in Missouri and surrounding areas, if you're in the Central Time Zone at 6 p.m., do the math for your time zone so we don't tie up any more time here than we have to. But 6 p.m. Central Time to 9 p.m. Central Time.
Yep. There we go. So your opportunity to call in and talk to Dr. Charles Lewis. And by the way, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but he is officially now a resident of the state of Missouri, where he wasn't just 6 months ago. So,
all right.
So he is one of us now. He's a Missourian. So at any rate, let's be sure to give him a welcome, to Missouri when we talk to him tomorrow night as well. And I think that's it, but let's keep all these things in mind. So tomorrow night, first thing, of course, Sam's show. But after that, basically Knock and Shock on January 30th. And then after that, of course, our meeting at Deb's, was it called Deb's Barn? I believe.
Deb's Barn.
Yep. Okay. In Owensville, Missouri. And once again, talking about the shell games of finance being played by Gasconade R2, Owensville. So, and we explain exactly how they do it. And we're just kind of hoping at some point, one of the people that represent the school district, either the superintendent or board members or something like that, will actually come out and address some of this stuff. Or at least, come to the meetings and find out what we have to say about it. But they're ignoring us completely. Apparently, that is their defense mechanism. Just pretend it's not happening right now. So we're going to get louder and louder and louder, because this is not just happening at Gasconade, gang. And I'm not trying to speak on Retha's behalf or anything. Retha's the one who has all the data on this. But it's not just Gasconade, I promise you. But Gasconade is one of the most egregious ones. And I'm talking about Owensville. So, so Clever is getting pretty bad too. That's our school district, Clever, Missouri. And we're dealing with that too, but we're not dealing with it right now this instant. But we'll be starting on that in February. But at any rate, gang, freedom, liberty, fight for it. You have to. It is your duty as an American to do so. And that does not mean picking up arms. There's lots of ways you can do it. Knock and shock is a very effective method, for getting attention of legislators. And if Dean Plocker wants to play games again this year, he's going to have to try and explain that as he's running for lieutenant governor in the state of Missouri. His corporate pals aren't going to give him enough money to get through when he literally has so many scandals plaguing him going into running as a candidate for lieutenant governor. That's the Achilles heel of Plocker. So if Plocker dumps running for lieutenant governor, all bets are off. If he's running for lieutenant governor, he's got to play the game. And that's just the way things work in politics. Okay, I'll leave it for anyone else to have any final words here real quick before I close it up. So anyone have anything they'd like to say?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Voodoo.
I think everybody needs to call Bill Eigel, all of us, and let him know that all of us are behind him 100%.
Yep, I agree. And once again, we can't do that as an organization, but we certainly can do that as individuals. So, and once again, if anyone asks for an endorsement, there's no endorsement from the Missouri Freedom Initiative. I can't say with any certainty, that this person or that person is agreed to by everyone in the organization, because our organization is set up so loosely, it's impossible to get that information. But I will tell you, when people ask me directly who I support, I tell them who I support. But it is not the organization. It's me personally, Patrick Holland. And I personally support Bill Eigel for governor. And so that, to me, it is the only answer. And I understand Bob Onder is also looking at Congressional District 3 and running there as opposed to for lieutenant governor. But if he were running for lieutenant governor, he would get my vote for lieutenant governor. So I don't know what else to say. Koenig would get my vote for treasurer. Once again, I'm not speaking for the entire group here. I'm speaking for Patrick Holland. I know these guys. I go up there and visit with them all the time. So, so that's what I can say when people ask who I personally will, vote for. But there's no endorsement from our organization. As much as we love these guys, we're not set up. We're not built for that. And we have to work with everyone who's up there. And so with what we do. So we even work with Democrats. So basically, that's why we don't endorse. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that, Voodoo. Anyone else have any final comments? Anything else they'd like to throw in?
Well, whenever she said, I think everybody should, for the first thing that came to my mind is that she was going to say, I think everybody should get a flamethrower. But
well, you know what? If she did say that, I would not argue against it.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yep.
I'm going to be the only 70-year-old on the block with one.
Yep. There you go. Well, that puts you in a pretty special, unique position there, Voodoo.
Yeah, just be careful during the summer.
Yep. Jess Piper is a failed politician. That's right. She lost her election by a landslide. She got 25% of the vote. Her opponent got 75% of the vote. So, there's a couple of percentage points in between, I think.
Just a couple.
Yep. So, all right. Well, I'll tell you what, gang. I'm going to go ahead and start the process of shutting down the show. But I do want to thank you for joining us tonight. If you are not on our email list, please consider doing so. mofree.org is our website. And if you visit our website, on the right-hand side of the page, you'll find a very convenient place to sign up to our email newsletter. This is critical during the legislative season that you are on the list if you basically work with us. We have a lot of names on there. It's a big list, and I'm very proud of that. But the thing is that information is not shared, not even with other people within the Missouri Freedom Initiative. I alone hold that information, and it doesn't get sold, shared, or for any other reason. It just doesn't get out. So feel very safe, feel secure in passing on your email information to us. We only use it for our newsletters, and that's it. But during the legislative session, things can happen really fast, and this is the best way to get a hold of everyone real fast. In the past, we put out videos, but sometimes people won't look on YouTube for 3 or 4 days, and by then the information's irrelevant. The actionable information may only last for 24 hours. So that's why we like the email system. So please do consider getting on the email list, and remember, if you're on the email list, to check your spam filter, because it is a .org account, mofree.org. Orgs often end up in spam or, advertisements or something else like that. So please do check if you haven't received anything from us. We email at least every Saturday. However, during the legislative season, you can usually count on an average of about 1.5 a week during the entire legislative season. But there are times we'll send out 4 in a week when we have hot and heavy stuff going on. Silver and Gold is still running, gang, but we have to give it some more fuel. And that's why I'm asking for everyone to call Dean Plocker's office. Once again, that information is available in the email newsletter that I put out. But also, too, we're going to have to start supporting it on the Senate side as well. So that's something that we need to start working on, and that's actually calling up your senators and asking for them to put pressure to keep moving this forward, and that's on Caleb Rowden. That's on the Senate Pro Tem. We said a lot of bad things about him tonight, but now we need to ask him to actually get something done for us. So that's the way it works in politics, by the way. I have no shame, apparently. But heck, we need to ask things of Plocker. Let's just hope that we get Plocker while he's drunk and, in a good mood, amiable, and, hey, yeah, sure, do whatever you want. After he's got, like 3/5 of, Jack Daniels in him. Something like that, and then we can get a co-sponsorship and also move that that legislation along. And by the way, I'm just kidding, Dean Plocker. Love you, man. You're just the best House Speaker we've ever had since John Deal. I just don't know what to say. And very few people will get that joke, but those who do, God bless you. Thank you for playing. And once again, I want to thank every single one of you for spending some of your precious time with the Missouri Freedom Initiative on Saturday nights. It means a lot to us. We're working towards freedom. This isn't just a fanboy club. We're actually working to free the state of Missouri, and we can do it with your help. And if you're in another state, start an organization like the Missouri Freedom Initiative. You don't have a lot of time left. So it's up to us. It's not ballot box and done. Not vote for this guy and done. Now this guy can take care of my freedom for me. No, your work continues on after that election. Your power is in your state. It was never in the federal government. It was never designed for you to have power in the federal government. The design was for you to have power in your state. And that's what we try to show people with the Missouri Freedom Initiative. That's what we try to teach them. That's how we do things the way we do them in the Missouri Freedom Initiative on somewhat of a democratic level. It's all about the group. It's not about an individual. So I want to thank you again for spending your precious minutes with the Missouri Freedom Initiative, learning what you can do to help make Missouri freer. Please join us on January 30th for Knock and Shock. Please tune in tomorrow night to Sam Britton and Off the Cuff when he actually gets to interview again Dr. Charles Lewis. You guys, thanks again for joining. I love all of you. Take care, and may God bless.